Hello, everybody, and happy October. It is the third Tuesday of the month, and welcome to the Be Well With Mel show. Super excited to be here today, you guys. If this is your first time to the show, I am Mel, the Vice President of Sales here at Bree Health, and I bring over 2 decades in the live events and the virtual space. With a master's degree in education, I have a passion to invest and educate and mentor in others. And spending time with you guys on this show every single month really just personally fills my heart. So thank you for trusting me to lead you guys in these episodes with industry leading topics, personal experiences, and all the things that are happening in the HR community. I know we have lots of new listeners joining us after coming off of some really, really big events. So please show us the love on social media. For those of you guys here in the Zoom room, go ahead and drop those emojis. Give me some hand claps, some hearts. Let me know if you're new in the chat box. But for those of you who are also looking at us streaming live right now on all of our social media platforms, that would be on the Bree Health YouTube channel, as well as our LinkedIn on Bree Health, E&I, our parent company, as well as my personal page. Give us some love on there. Let us know if you're following along today with a like button and share to the world. As you guys know, we just launched this podcast in May following Mental Health Awareness Month. And really, we're just trying to get this podcast out and into as many organizations and the hands of their employees as possible. So by sharing, by liking, by commenting, and inviting others, you guys are going to help us grow this inner circle of ours. Welcome today. Go ahead. If my moderators behind the scenes could do me a favor, they're going to actually drop you the links to our YouTube as well as our LinkedIn pages. Guys, in between all of the shows, we drop lots of valuable content. So it's not just about this show. We want to make sure that we're connected with you guys in every single way possible. So thank you so much for doing that for me, team. Well, if you guys joined us in September, we had an amazing local guest. I'm here in Phoenix, Arizona, and Trevor also was here in Phoenix, Arizona, cover last month's show. And he talked all about a buzzing topic coming off of SHRM annual conference this year, which was really what the effects of retention on the employee experience was like. And we discussed in that last podcast the 4 types of retention. He talked about functional retention, dysfunctional turnover, and functional turnover. He also taught you guys about how retention didn't necessarily mean that you should keep everybody. And I think that was a really good discussion for us to have. And he talked about how actively disengaged employees have a negative effect on desirable employees. We talked about regrettable turnover and how to increase functional retention. He talked about the cost of replacing a former employee ranged from 0.05% to 2% times of their annual salary. Guys, at the end of every single show, and now my amazing marketing team has even created it into an ebook that you can download if you're a guest. Then you guys, they're going to drop the link right now. You get that takeaway. So if you missed Trevor's show, highly, highly recommend. Number one, you head on over to YouTube to watch the replay. Or you can type in the chat box replay and the moderators can drop you guys the link directly to that. Or if you guys wanted all of the cliff notes, the high level takeaways, actionable items that you could apply in your workplace and in your organization, then go ahead and drop into the chat box that you'd like that gift. And if you guys register for the Be Well with Mel show, I know a lot of you guys watch us live streaming, but what you don't get are these takeaways after the show if you are not registered. So they're going to drop a link to you guys. Go ahead and register so that we're able to get you guys this gift. But Trevor did an amazing job teaching us all about retention last month. So thank you, Trevor. But coming up today, I have another SHRM guru, you guys. I'm just blown away after conference how many certified SHRM instructors that we have coming to this platform on the podcast, and super excited today to have guest speaker Jathan Javon. And he's going to talk about being invaluable in life coaching. Now, I just came back from HR Tech. If you guys were there, let me know if you guys were there, if we met. I know we have lots of new guests that are joining us from meeting us at HR Tech last week in Las Vegas. I have fully recovered. I hope you guys have too. It took a couple days though. But there was a big buzz around HR Tech, and there's just been in the industry for a while. And that's kind of the pivot between, traditional licensed therapy and mental health therapy and counseling to life coaching or executive leadership coaching. And so today we're going to explore those areas with our guest, Jathan, and he's going to teach you guys all about coaching versus therapy is going to be the discussion, along with life coaching versus executive coachings, the differences in those, and then the methodologies between all these different types of coaching that we could actually have access to, and then the characteristics of what makes a good coach. And so get ready to get out your pens and your papers for that, guys. He's going to teach all about that today. All right. Well, first off, if you guys are new, you're probably like, what the heck is this show all about? Go ahead and drop new in the chat box. Let us know. I saw a couple of you registered last minute. I know Jathan sent this out to his network of people. So I should have lots of newbies tuning in. For all of you guys who have already been tuning in, thank you so much. But this is basically our inner circle of mental health and HR professionals, industry experts and thought leaders that we're bringing together here on the Be Well with Mel show. And it's just a show that's dedicated where we all come together every third Tuesday of the month to share real life things that are happening inside of the workplace, best practices, some challenges, what's working, what's not working for us, the good, the bad, the ugly. But really our goal here on the show, you guys, is to bring everybody together and just be a force for good on this live show. And so that is how we're here to serve you. That is the purpose of the show. And we're very, very thankful for you guys being here. I'm also very, very thankful for my team behind the scenes. This show is put on and produced by Bree Health. And a huge thank you to my marketing team. It is a free show that we're bringing to you guys that will never charge or sell anything from this platform. It's just our way of investing in you and each other and the industry. So team, thank you so much for all you do behind the scenes each and every month to make this show happen. I'm very, very thankful for that. Well, our mission here at Bree Health, it is important for you to know what we do behind the scenes and what we stand for and what we're trying to do in this HR and mental health community. And we have over 40 years in the mental health and employee benefits industry. And our mission and our vision is to make mental health resources as accessible as possible. We want to bring innovative technology to your employees' fingertips, and we're giving them certified life coaching and AI-driven, customized, hyper-personalized self-guided resources. I'm sorry, I couldn't find my words, to your employees' fingertips, all through a native app. So if you're more interested in speaking with me personally, I know we're in open enrollment season is right around the corner, and a lot of you guys are currently looking to, up your mental health services, maybe fill in some gaps that aren't currently served under your current EAP. If you guys want to chat with me or just learn more about Bree Health, the moderators are going to drop some more information about how we're able to assist you guys with that. Or if you want to speak with me personally, they'll drop a calendar link so that you and I can meet. More than happy to demo you guys around the platform should you guys be interested in that. All right. So to make our attorneys happy, we want to just let you guys know here that we do have a broadcast disclaimer, and the content of the show is proprietary and it is property of Bree Health. We make absolutely no promises or guarantees about the information that we share. We're just drawing here from opinions and personal experiences and recommendations, but I will tell you they're all pretty good. All right, guys. Also, we needed to say a huge thank you because we have a lot of new viewers on the show today. How many of you guys went to HR Tech in Las Vegas last week? Our entire team was there. And let me just tell you, they knew how to throw a party. You guys, I felt like it was literally a business networking party for 5 days straight. And it was so successful. Everybody had nothing but great things and positive things to say about it. So if you were an attendee, I hope we got to meet you guys. If you were a vendor, I know we partnered up with tons of you guys. We came back with so much business, and we just wanted to say a big thank you. This is the team that was there, including our new executive sales director, and our CEO joined us along with our COO, and myself, and also our product manager and another vice president of sales on our parent company. So we just wanted to say thank you to you guys. But for everyone who's looking for an event next year that they would want to go attend and get so much out of, highly, highly recommend, both from the vendor side of it as well as the attendee side. Lots of innovation that was happening at HR Tech. And we are so excited that we were able to connect with you guys. Well, you guys know on every single show, I like to do a social media spotlight. So as always, make sure that you're tagging me on LinkedIn if you guys come across any content or material that you feel like would be valuable to our little inner circle, HR circle here on the Be Well With Mel show. This week, though, I wanted to bring something to your guys's attention that we have over on our YouTube channel. And I wanted to highlight today our coaches, since this session today is all about coaching, life coaching, executive leadership coaching, therapy. But this is actually one of our coaches, and we have something that we initiated recently called the Happiness Boost. And I wanted to share it with you guys, and you can also catch it right on over on our YouTube channel. I knew it was going to give me a hard time to play, so give me just a second. All right.
Hey there, my name's Elise, one of the behavioral health coaches at Bree Health. I want to talk to you about a practice that will help you avoid negative thoughts. This starts with waking up in the morning and choosing 3 things to be grateful for. After that, I want you to choose forgiveness. This means forgiving yourself and those around you. After that, I want you to choose to align yourself with the greatest version of yourself. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.
So really quick, easy, little tiny tips that you guys can apply in the workplace. Head on over to YouTube to get those happiness boosts. And for all of you who are our current clients, you guys are receiving them now too. So thank you, coaches, for every single thing that every one of you guys do. We're very, very appreciative. All right, well, we're in October, and I know I told you guys on the last couple shows that I had an overwhelming response of people that wanted to come and speak on the show, and I am fully booked out until January of next year, which thank you for having the interest from every single one of our guest speakers. But I'm already working with the team on next year's entire lineup, and so if you'd like to be a part of the show, if you have something special to share, whether it's about HR and the industry, best practices, challenges, things that are working for you, or you have some insight on, anything educational based in mental health that you would like to share, and you'd like to have a voice and a platform to be able to do so, we'd love for you to apply to be part of the show. The moderators are going to drop a link where you're just going to fill out a really short form that's going to give me some information on the topic that you'd like to share. I would like to encourage you to please, please, please go back and see what topics we've already talked about and try to find a new one, because we're constantly looking for good new content to bring to this audience. But we are looking for speakers all the rest of next year. In addition to that, we are looking to up the show to bi-weekly or weekly again, starting at the beginning of the year. And that's all dependent on the guest speakers. So again, thank you guys, but go ahead and click that link if you would like to apply and be considered to be a part of the show. All right, well, we're almost at 11:30 my time, which is 2:30 your guys, or 1:30, depending on where you're logging in from, which means that we're about ready to bring up our special guest today. And I'm really excited for this one. This was a fluke, you guys, I have to say, on how I met Jathan. It was divine intervention. I actually had a business dinner planned last month, and our guest that was supposed to be on the show wasn't able to attend. And I was looking for another guest, and Jathan just so happened to be stopping by in Phoenix, and I got to meet him as my dinner guest, had invited him as our guest. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. I need to find somebody for the show, because we weren't able to use our other guest. And he so kindly, you guys, stepped up to the plate and has so much knowledge. And I'm really, really excited. You guys might know him. Jathan is an internationally published author, including Managing to Stay Out of Court, How to Avoid the 8 Deadly Sins of Mismanagement. He is a frequent speaker at SHRM conferences and has been quoted in publications including the New York Times, Forbes, and Inc. magazine. Jathan also serves as an adjunct faculty member at the University of California, San Diego, which you guys follow me. You all know I also teach in higher education, and teaches specifically their HR Masters series. And today he's going to come on. Jathan, we'll welcome you to the mic. Come on so that everybody could say hi. And if you don't, yeah, perfect. And guys, today we're going to talk all about life coaching. We're going to talk about being invaluable in life coaching. We're going to talk about methodologies. We're going to talk about, really where he came from. And I think that's where we should start, Jathan, is you have a wealth of knowledge and experience. And so I think the best place for us to start today is to talk about, you were an employment law attorney who then went coaching. So why don't you kind of give a high level of that, and let's start there. And then I know you have a lot to teach on today. I am ready when you cue me up to show your information that you're going to speak and teach to. But welcome. How are you today?
Doing fine. Thank you, Mel.
So talk to us a little bit about your journey in HR and how did you even get here?
Well, it actually began with my father in the 1970s. My father was a university professor, and he was one of the kind of early pioneers in the organization development field.
Okay.
So I'm in high school, and I used to go along to his little seminars on trust, organizational trust, and, communication, collaboration versus the opposites. And then I went to law school, and the heck with all that, right? Law school, the legal profession isn't based on organizational harmony, quite the opposite. But I worked in the employment law field. So essentially, I made a living for 25 years on workplace relationships that may have started out win-win, but they ended up toxic, lose-lose. But after, like I say, about a quarter century, I started getting drawn toward my then late father's background and started to say, well, what in these 25 years that I've made a living on toxic workplace relationships, are there some lessons that can be applied into executive coaching and organization development principles
and
that could prevent a lot of misery?
Yeah, what kind of topics specifically? The toxic topics that you're talking about.
Well, Trust.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to get as basic, I mean, what prompts someone to sue? It's an insult combined with an injury. And the insult comes from a lack of trust. And so I started to look at this from an organizational standpoint. And then I was very fortunate to cross paths with Marshall Goldsmith and stakeholder-centered coaching that gave me a methodology. And then with my, father and the OD methodologies, I was able to incorporate these things and, how to, turn things from a negative into a positive.
I love that.
And so I left the practice of law. And so I've been full-time ever since as a coach and consultant. That's what I do.
And so talk to us a little bit about that experience. Since being in the industry, where did you start? Who did you start working from? Has it evolved in the life coaching?
Well, I started out in the business as a plaintiff's attorney.
Okay.
I represented employees, probably suing organizations like yours. Not that I ever did. I'm not suggesting but I represented unions and employees, which gave me a great insight. And then I switched to the management side because I felt I could have more influence. So my 25-year career began on the plaintiff employee side, and then it and the union side, and then it ended on the management side.
Okay.
And so you see what goes wrong, how people continually, shall we say, seize, defeat from the jaws of victory.
And so when you decided that you wanted to be a life coach, you sought a specific, and I had to write it down because I could not, Marshall Goldsmith stakeholder-centered coaching. It's a lot. So talk to us a little bit about, did you do research to find out? Because I think this is a big question for people. First off, actually, let's hold that question. Let's back up. Traditional EAP, licensed counseling therapy available to the employee inside of the workplace. And then this new buzz of what about executive leadership coaching and what about life coaching? Are they one and the same? Are they different? Is one better than the other? Do they both serve a different purpose? So let's start there, just because that's a big buzz right now, right? Is employers considering things, coaching outside of the traditional EAP licensed counseling or therapy?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And I think there's different components to it. So with an EAP, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but you get a limited number of sessions with a therapist, right? For no charge. Which is great. I mean, I've always recommended to my corporate clients to have an EAP and an EAP service. Coaching, a little bit different. Coaching is a more extensive engagement, and it's also not therapy. And I sent you a couple of documents.
Yep.
I thought I'd share the distinctions.
Perfect.
But one of the things I would say to Bree Health is maybe you want to look at that as an option. Although the only thing I would say is if an employee wants to do it, they should have some skin in the game. And we can talk about that later, but it's more than 3 or whatever it is sessions with a therapist. It's a very different relationship with a coach.
Yes. Am I sharing the right screen? It should be you today's show. Just want to make sure I got lots of screens going on here. And now it should be changing.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Perfect. Is this the one you wanted me to put up?
Yeah. So I thought I could maybe quickly walk through this.
Yeah.
And of course there's questions. So yes, I'm a Marshall Goldsmith stakeholder-centered coach. And this is to me the most effective coaching system that's ever been developed. I experimented with various other ones. And now here's the thing also, Mel, to just clarify, the vast majority of my work is not life coaching. It's executive leadership coaching. It's working with, say, a CEO on how he or she can raise their game. However, I've also done, as part of my, including pro bono commitment, applied this methodology in what would be considered life coaching events. And I sent you two examples that we can work through.
Okay.
But just to tell you, just a quick roadmap of the methodology I use. And by the way, I'll just make it very clear. I use the same methodology in life coaching and executive coaching. The biggest difference is, if it's life coaching, I want to make people absolutely clear that I'm not a therapist, I'm not a psychiatrist, I don't prescribe medicine, I'm not any kind of mental health professional. I'm a coach. And they should never for a moment confuse me with those, and never for a moment think I'm a substitute for those other resources. So that's the number one difference when I'm doing life coaching, is I want absolute clarity on that point. So, any questions about that?
No, but I think for our viewers that are listening, I don't know, here at Bree Health, we have life coaching, as you know. And one of the differentiators that I always like to talk about is therapy is there for, it serves two different purposes, but life coaching, and you could tell me if your way of coaching is exactly the same, but with our life coaching here, the difference is we're trying to move the individual forward to create behaviors that are going to instill change so that the person can move forward from whatever life challenge that they're currently facing. Where therapy, sometimes we have to talk about how it is that we got here, right? Here, we're not talking about why I am the way that we are or how I got here. It's more, I'm here, and now I really need someone to lean on to change the environment, to change the behaviors, to change what's happening so that I can have a positive outcome. So with this, I don't know much about Marshall Goldsmith. This is such a mouthful, but is the thought process the same in that between therapy and coaching?
Absolutely. I mean, as somebody who's, been in therapy for a good chunk of my adult life, I get it from that standpoint. The difference with coaching is, in fact, one of the things I often say when I'm coaching somebody is, if we have an effective relationship, there's probably going to be times where you want to wring my neck. Okay.
Just like a sports coach, right?
Yeah. There's going to be times where I'm going to say some things that are going to cause you pain. And I'm going to do it intentionally and deliberately and with your welfare in mind. And that's what I found in terms of therapy. That's the difference. Again, not to say it's one or the other, but they're different. And that's, to me, so they know, and they don't, if they're in therapy, that they don't conflate what I'm doing with what a therapist is doing.
Very good. Love it. All right, walk us through this.
So the first thing is, in coaching in this system, is you got to do some form of 360-degree evaluation. You want to get a read. And essentially what this first bullet point, I call it the 331. Marshall gets, I don't know if he was annoyed by it or likes it, but I tend to put little phrases around his stuff. I'll have to ask him. Anyway, so it's confidential, brief interviews with anybody that interacts with the person I want to be coaching in any meaningful way. And it's, what do you think this person's up to 3 greatest strengths are? If they got better at something, what are up to 3 areas that would matter most? If you identify more than one growth area, which one do you recommend that I, as coach, focus on first? So that's what I mean by the 331. So
I love it. So you go outside of the individual as your first thing to understand the perceived, like everyone around them. Wow, that's kind of, it seems so simple, but really I would think as a coach, your client hires you on, you come on, you're coaching them, but you're saying, wait a second, I want to know what the people around you think.
And it's a huge difference between therapy and coaching. Huge.
Yeah, I love that.
Because I'm going to talk to your spouse, if we're talking life coaching, significant other, your parents, your whatevers, your kids, and it's all going to be confidential. I'm not going to, if I'm coaching you, Mel, you can't compel me. It's in my agreement with you to disclose what your spouse or significant other or adult child or parent or whomever it is. I'm going to say, I want a big list of people that could have some insights about you. And I'm going to gather that before we do anything substantively. That's what I'm going to do.
So if we put this in because everyone who's tuning in, right, they're here for their organization and or they're an employee or they're management or leadership. So to make that relative to them, if it's a C-level executive who's listening in, who would their people be that you would want to target?
Well, the obvious, I mean, the no-brainers are the person's reports and the person to whom he or she reports.
Okay.
Those are the obvious. Now, but I say the more the merrier at this stage. Yeah. It's different from stakeholder at this stage, because the way that this is so efficient, I give people the opportunity, they can talk to me or do it by email. It's so efficient that I say, I don't care how many people you have. So I was coaching a CEO of an organization who had been previously a statewide elected public official. And I said, you just throw it out there. And he set the all-time record, 40 people.
Oh, wow.
40 people. That's the all-time record. I hope it's never broken, by the way. 40 is a lot. But
well,
the point being is if you're in a position to potentially offer some insight of value, that's fine.
That's what I was going to say. If I'm the individual who's seeking the coaching from you and I'm investing in it, financially, emotionally, physically, energy-wise, and all that, like I would want the best experience. And I feel like the more that you could get out of people would only benefit me more than hurt me.
I tell people, include people that it makes you cringe to think about what they're going to say.
That's good.
Okay. And in a life coaching, that might be a former spouse. It could be anybody. I said, because as your coach, I'm going to be a filter. And you'd be amazed at some of those people that would just make you absolutely cringe, actually shared some useful, helpful insights to me as coach.
I could see that.
But you got to be willing to be vulnerable.
Probably the hardest part in therapy and in coaching is being vulnerable and open.
Yeah.
Although okay, so then
coaching, I can filter. So, if it's your ex-husband who says blah, 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 I can filter all that. I'm not going to just say, by the way, he said, blah. No, I'm looking for insights and ideas and ways to make some breakthroughs, behaviorally based.
Yeah. And so you then create an action plan. Why don't you walk us through that?
Based on that information. And I think I gave you a couple examples we can look at in a bit.
Okay.
And then I think this is one of Marshall's great insights, is sort of when he came to the coaching profession, everything was about the coach. And Marshall said, no, the coach should be relatively muted in all this. The coach should be more of a behind-the-scenes orchestrator than the star of the show. And the people that should be the stars with the coachee are the stakeholders, which is typically a subset of that 3-3-1. My general thing is 4 to 6 people. And they're going to have an ongoing role in the coachee's progress. So you identify and enroll stakeholders. Okay. My job is at least weekly. If I'm coaching you, we need to touch base at least weekly. We also need to touch base on as needed. And one thing I've noticed in life coaching compared to corporate coaching is often the as needed is a bit more than, because of the emotional stuff and whatnot. Plus the corporate coaching, sometimes I have to chase people down. But then every 30 days, if you're the coachee, you're going to check in one-on-one with those 4 to 6 stakeholders and say, here's been my goal for the last 30 days, as you know. How have I done? And what suggestions do you have for me going forward? Okay. And then you're going to share what you learn with me as your coach. And if we need to make adjustments, we make adjustments. And then after a certain interval, usually probably more than 3 months, that's the earliest, 6 months or so more, those stakeholders will be asked confidentially, if it's you, how has Mel done on her goal of X over the past 5 months? And they'll start with a numerical rating, which is she got better, she got worse, no change, 0. She got better, still needs to grow, 1. Gotten a lot better, 2, 3. Oh my gosh, she's blown it out of the sea. It's amazing. And you work in reverse. And the goal is to exceed a net 1. That's the Goldsmith research. And he's, gazillions of research. So that's the tool there. Sometimes in life coaching, I do it less formally than a formal survey that you get, but it's confidential. It's based on the same concept.
That's what I was going to ask you. What does confidentiality look like in all of this? Because you're asking for people outside of the person you're coaching to give input and share. And so at what point in time, what is confidential? What isn't confidential? How does that make the person? I have a lot of questions around that.
All right. Well, I'll take the first. Let's say you're not the person I'm coaching, but you're a stakeholder or you're a 331 person. Mm-hmm. I make it very clear to you that if you share something with me that you don't want shared, it stays here. And so that's the first level of confidentiality. And if you engage with me as a coachee, you have to agree to that, including formally in writing in my engagement letter. And I've actually pushed back in a corporate setting where the corporate attorney was going to subpoena me. And I was like, this was still my client, I was coaching. And I say, go look at the agreement. You cannot compel. You want to sue me, sue me. So I think a critical component is that if you're sharing insights and thoughts about the person I'm working with, you have to be safe. And so I'm very, very serious about that point.
Do you guide them with questions? So if I'm a 331 person, are you guiding me with questions to get to the information you need to get to? And the reason why I ask that is because then I'm feeling like, well, now I know why my husband hired him to get coached, because those questions that you ask me are going to lead me down to understand what you're coaching this individual on. And then I feel like you're crossing passive confidentiality. I'm not trying to challenge you. I'm just trying to understand this.
Yeah. Okay. Well, are we looking at this in a life coaching or an executive coaching?
I feel like that it pertains to either or, right? So if you're
with a variation. So let's say I'm coaching your husband who's a vice president of sales at company X. Okay. And I'll usually say, if you just want company X, but sometimes I get some really good insights from others. So let's say he lists you as a 331 person, probably not a stakeholder because it's a corporate coaching engagement. Okay. So I'm going to ask you, from what you've observed with your husband, home, church, synagogue, wherever, whatever, social occasions at work, whatever your baseline of information is, what do you think are the up to 3 things he brings of value to company X from your perspective?
So
And then
that,
I'm going to say, okay, now based on that holistic experience you have with your husband, if he were to get better at, develop, improve, stop, start, more of, less of, that you think would make him more effective at company X, what's your suggestion?
okay.
And then if you have more than one, I'll say, of those 3 suggestions, which one do you think I should focus on with your husband first? So I'm essentially going to do a variation of that in a life coaching thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So the questions are so broad that the individual really can't pinpoint what the struggle or challenge is.
I wish I had invented it, but I have to give credit to Marshall.
Yeah.
But I used to do all these, the personality, the disc and the this and the that and the other. And, I just find I get everything I possibly need
Okay.
from the 331.
Okay. So
Simple,
then,
efficient, and incredibly effective.
okay. So you have some examples that you wanted to show, correct?
Yeah. Which one are we doing first here? All right. Hang on. I gotta.
Let me know if I didn't do these in the right order, but I believe I did.
Oh, well, okay. Well, I was going to give 2 examples, okay, to kind of make the point about life coaching, corporate coaching, and what's not therapy. So this person, it's, roughly, obviously I didn't name the name. This is, by the way, the Marshall Goldsmith checklist formula. Okay. And so you have a goal, and then you have specific behaviors designed to achieve the goal. And so you can see from the overall how it's done. It builds a certain kind of accountability. So this person I was working with had been very successful, and then for various reasons and mental health and substance, et cetera, crashed and burned, and and then had, was alive because a rope broke when he was, but he had a psychiatrist, he had a therapist, he had medicine and so forth. So I made it very clear that, this is what I'm going to do and this is what I'm not going to do. So this checklist was designed to help him get to where there was some functional stability. Okay. Because pretty much his life had become a total train wreck. Okay. So if you notice, you try to be specific. Okay, so the goal is, because the one thing was his children that were now living with his ex and had all sorts of issues and whatnot. And so in terms of him deciding to stay on the planet, his goal was to restore a relationship with these young children that had, had to unfortunately experience all this. So that was his goal. Stable, supportive parent. And that's what motivated him to say, okay. So we looked at, examined things. And again, 331, I got input, his ex-wife shared input. I mean, everybody, therapist, same thing. I mean, just what do you think, 331? I'm a coach, make it clear. And so it was what might move the needle toward that goal. Well, first is you can't lay in bed all day.
That's good.
Second is, let's not make it ambiguous. So not only you have to get up by a certain time, your bed has to be made by a certain time. That's another one of Marshall's great insights, is specific behaviors that will lead to something. Okay. So set your watch, 30 minutes. Okay. Obviously, alcohol, substance, that's pretty clear. Again, I am not going to weigh in on anything about mental health protocols, but I can, as coach, say, did you do it? You took the medicine or you went to this therapy sessions. as a coach, I can hold them accountable. I am not going to weigh in on any substantive level whatsoever, just as a checklist. Did you do it? Okay. And then a behavioral thing, whether it's email, phone, voicemail, a quote, something each day with each of your kids that's positive. And then the last thing is, because, one of the things that it caused a lot of problems was a kind of hair triggered temper and a tendency to see yourself as a victim. And so we said, okay, when you feel that anger arise, you do the old timeout signal. Again, behavior.
Yeah.
So that's an example of taking the Marshall Goldsmith stakeholder-centered coaching that was designed for essentially CEOs of Fortune 50 companies and applying it in challenging life circumstances.
So I see here that if we do these behaviors and we hold them accountable, and it seems so simple, but one of the rules I live by every single day of my life, and I think I learned it 10 years ago, where I wake up every morning and I have 3 non-negotiables, and I list whatever that non-negotiable is for the day. And I make sure, hell or high water, I don't go to bed until those 3 non-negotiables are done. And what happens over time then is it becomes a habit and a routine. So what I'm seeing here is if I have accountability on a checklist and I have a list of things that are holding me accountable to the behaviors in moving me towards the goal in the direction that I need to, then through time, this will create habits, which then will become natural to doing. And then will change over time, whatever the challenge was that the person was facing. So it seems so simple, but it's not so easy, right?
Yeah, simple doesn't mean easy.
Right.
But you're absolutely right, Mel. And where I, as a coach, can help is to be at least a catalyst for change. So before these 6 behaviors are just automatic to you, you might need my help in accountability.
We all do.
You're about to go to bed. You're about to go to bed, and you're going, I didn't do my exercise, and I got to report to Jathan. Crap. Okay.
Yeah.
Before I drag myself into bed, I'm going to get on the elliptical, and because I don't want to say, Jathan, I blew it. So, but at a certain point, and this is the beauty of coaching, is you don't need me anymore, or only on rare occasions, because you got it. These are wired into your basic who you are. So what I try to do is, I don't know, kind of a midwife, if you will, is to get you to that place.
And what I love about this also is life coaching versus, I think, therapy is life coaching has a growth mindset behind it. So like for those of you who are listening into the show right now and you're like, listen, I don't have a substance abuse problem. I don't have a mental illness and I don't have like any big issues. Well, we all know we have something, and I'm not here to say I don't have anything, but I am all for wanting to be better. I am all for growing and, evolving into something new or taking on a new challenge. And so life coaching might be also there to help you grow and move forward. And we need that to know where to start. So having a coach like here, you're showing me what things to do, what behaviors to do to start a new routine or a new habit to grow into who it is that I want. It doesn't always have to be negative. We talk about this at Bree all the time. Mental health, right? It doesn't necessarily have to have a negative challenge behind it. It could be trying to go buy a new house and I don't know how the heck to do this, or we have a new puppy and oh my gosh, I'm going to kill the thing because, sorry, I shouldn't have said that on the podcast, but it's like having a newborn and I'm 40 and I didn't want to have a newborn. Sometimes it's just trying to figure things out. And so I love this. I love the behaviors. I love, helping us move forward with that in a growth mindset also, not just negative. Do you want to look at we have about 6 minutes.
Why don't we? Because, again, it's not just for like the mental health. I mean, just any space.
Yeah, I love it.
So this is an example of a couple I coached. Okay. Because I sometimes do team coaching, group coaching. And so this was a relationship. These folks had been, previously been married to other people, had some, painful divorces, and, that leaves some scars that can affect behavior. And et cetera, et cetera. And there was part of them that felt like, I think we would be good with each other, but we've both been scarred and we both have tendencies and to push the other way. So this behavioral checklist was okay. And after I did all the 331s, including former spouses, et cetera, was okay. Well, can we create a foundation that will last for a lifetime? Because one thing the two of them had in common was, I don't want to go through this divorce thing again.
Yeah, right.
I really like to find somebody and then just call it a day or call it a lifetime. Just, so is there a possibility that I could find somebody and I'm done for life? I'll just ride this out and okay. So, all right. So that became the goal.
Okay.
A lifetime relationship. What's the foundation? So then based on the 331 input, you start looking at what would make a difference. Well, first one is, don't take for granted the things that the other person does that you think are worth repeating. Okay, very simple. You washed your dish. Thank you. You picked up your damn underwear. Thank you. I don't say damn, but hey, you get the point. Behaviors worth repeating. You don't have to make a big deal out of it, but don't take them for granted. And don't say, well, I'm not going to say anything because blah, 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 blah. In the moment, if there's a behavior that other person does that you think is worth repeating, you just give a simple recognition, simple behavior. And you see the checklist. Did I do this? Did I do this? And the remarks are for the coach. How did I do? Those of you who read my columns, I'm a big fan of what I call the EAR method. Explore, acknowledge, respond. It's a sequence. Human beings are wired to respond. Don't do that. You first say, what do you think? How do you see it? Then you acknowledge is where they acknowledge that you understand them.
Can we role play that so that we can understand that better? Because I feel like that's really good. Can we role play that some way?
So, okay. So let's say you and I are scheduled to have dinner at a restaurant.
Okay.
I'm 20 minutes late.
Okay.
Okay. And you're sitting there, chewing on your breadstick or whatever. And where the hell is he? How would you use the EAR method to confront me when I walk into the restaurant 20 minutes after we were supposed to meet for dinner? EAR.
How would I effectively explore it? Because we all know naturally that this is not what I would do.
Right. It's like, no, not WTF. Okay, that is not explore. Hey, Jathan, we were scheduled to get together at 5:30. It's 5:50. What happened? And then shut up and don't put on a nasty face. Have a curiosity face. Because you don't know.
Right.
How do you know? You can make assumptions, that's selfish, blah, blah, blah. You don't even have any clue. So you're in curiosity mode. Hey, it's 5:50. I thought we were getting together at 5:30. What happened? That's explore.
I love it.
Okay. And then acknowledges, okay, so Jathan, if I understand, you couldn't find the parking space. Okay, bummer. All right. That's the A. I say, yeah, that's right. I couldn't find a parking space. And then response is, all right, well, these things happen. And then you move on and you have your dinner. But how often the relationships essentially end up being destroyed because they don't do it.
So true.
And so
I love that. We can all apply that in so many different areas of our life.
So, and that was the case with this couple.
They would just react.
I'm out. Now, if you want, I'd say you have the ability to respond. If you want to say, Jathan, that is totally unacceptable, blah, 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 you're welcome to, as long as you do the E and the A first. Okay.
Okay.
Your R can be whatever you want your R to be. You just sequentially can't do it until you first done the E and the A. Jathan, what happened? Please explain. Okay, if I understand you. And then, bam. So that was something that was a big game changer for them. And they would hold each other accountable, which I encouraged them. You know, oops, sorry, that was an R. Timeout.
Is this next one in regards to text messaging? Or...
Oh my gosh, text and email. Okay, because one of them in particular traveled a lot for work.
Okay.
And she'd say, you know, I'm about to go to bed, 3 time zones different, whatever. I'm in a hotel room and I got this, and all of a sudden I read this text or this email, and then I have insomnia, and then I'm just a wreck the next day. And I'm just burning mad. So again, simple behaviors. If you got something to say that you think is even potentially sensitive, you can't do it in writing.
Okay, devil's advocate, really quick, devil's advocate. Okay. The reason why and I'm putting this out to the world right now as we're live, the reason why I would be this person, and I am this person, just a heads up, is because I feel like I can articulate better when I write than when I speak. And I'm not being interrupted. And so if I'm being interrupted, then I lose my train of thought. And so I'm just like, can I write? Because then I can just get it all out there.
All right. Well, my answer to you, Mel, is Nicholas Epley, the University of Chicago, Booth School of Business. Okay. He's done a ton of research that if you even dabble in it, would say, I got to do a plan B.
Okay.
Now, a plan B isn't, and this is maybe for another time, is not that you don't write.
Okay.
It's if you Google same day summary in my name, it's not that I'm anti-writing, but if it's at all substantive sensitive of any kind, real time first, including he's done some really interesting research. It's really kind of funny how we deceive ourselves and how good we think we can communicate our intent to the recipient and how good we are at interpreting the content of written communication. So my answer to you was Nicholas Epley.
All right. I'm sure you guys in the audience felt that one. We had to bring that up. All right. We are 2 minutes over, but totally fine because we aired 3 minutes late. So let's get through these last 2.
Okay, so this one is, and it's kind of related to the example I gave about the dinner. Okay, we're supposed to have dinner at 5:30. I show up at 5:50. Okay, so anything that could result in a disagreement or a negative comment or a confrontation, you're welcome to do it, provided you first confirm what it is you're about to disagree with. Okay.
And so
simple, Leslie, but once you get this down, once you develop this behavior, it'll change your interactions with anybody and everybody on planet Earth.
So is this an example of just pausing and saying, Jathan, if I understood you correctly, to confirm that and then move forward, or no?
Yeah, what it means is somebody does something that pushes your buttons or a button in a negative way. And then you have a choice of essentially going limbic, fight or flight, right? Jathan, blah, or just avoidance. I don't recommend either one. I recommend engaging. Guilty is you can confront with confidence if before you convey your critical message, you make sure you understand what the other person did from their perspective. Okay. So this was the point with them. All right. So if somebody forgets to and doesn't say goodnight or doesn't, well, who knows what, you're free to confront, provided that before you express something critical, you make sure you understand where they're coming from.
Elephant's assessment.
What's that?
Elephant's assessment. What is all that about?
elephant's assessment was something because there were a lot of complications, and this was specific. You know, you were married to somebody else for a while, and there's some kids, and there's parents, and somebody else is married to somebody else, and there's kids, and there's parents, and then there's, the parent that gave money to buy the house, and who's going to where, and what's going to be inherited. And I mean, it was complicated. But there's probably some people on your program can relate to that. It's a little complicated. And then what are my kids going to think? And then are they going to wonder about where the inheritance? I mean, there's all sorts of stuff. Okay. And that's just part of it. But that was an example of what came up. Was we can't let the elephants in the room just quietly keep grazing and getting bigger and bigger. So what we've got to do with each other is periodically check in and say, hey, where are the elephants? What are the elephants? Well, my father's worried that if we get married and then we don't have a prenup and he put this money in so I can buy this house, we're going to live in my house and hoobada. Well, don't wait on that and don't repress it. Have some conversations and talk about it, because that's when you have the best chance at solving it, as opposed to just being intimidated by it. And then when then the elephant becomes huge, and then it's a real problem.
That's so good.
So it's like, and so I think in their case, I forget it was weekly or monthly, but they would schedule, they put on the schedule, elephant session. Now, if you didn't have an elephant, it was okay. But you had a
calling accountability to address
opportunity to share the elephant.
You're calling for accountability to address the elephants of the room, where most people would brush it under the rug and move on. But then to your point, it's going to fester over time and create bigger issues.
Elephant gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and fills up the room.
I love it.
But also tying this back to coaching, Mel, that's where I can check in with them. So if I'm doing a session with them and something comes out that's pretty heavy, I'm going to say, well, did you cover this in an elephant session? How come I'm hearing about it now for the first, how come you're each hearing it now? How come, please explain how come this didn't end up it wasn't in an earlier elephant session? Because now, the elephant's grown. Could this have been, could we have dealt with this when the elephant was a lot smaller?
Yeah.
So that's where a coach can come in the accountability. And then just also the contrast with the therapist is that the coach can, in a constructive way, I think, confront in ways that I think are, a little more challenging if you're in a therapy or psychiatry, that kind of role.
Yeah. I feel like the lanes are not as narrow.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, Jathan, thank you so much. We are up on time. Again, I really appreciate you just popping in last minute to be the guest today. Great information. Jathan, if you're not aware of this, our team will put together all of the highlights that you taught on today. And guys, if you're registered into the Zoom room or drop, if you want the gift in the chat box, our team will send you all of his teachings, learning objectives, all the takeaway. And I think we can all walk away today being able to apply lots of these things in every area of our life. Jathan, thank you again so much. And for everybody else, I'll see you on the third Tuesday of next month. Oh my gosh, it's almost November. Super excited for Arizonians because our weather changes next week. But Jathan, stay well. I hope to see you again. And thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mel.
Bye.